And good evening and Happy New Year's. I'd like to call to order the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for the City of Vacaville, January 6, 2021. We appreciate everyone who is participating in tonight's Park and Recreation teleconference meeting. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20. Please bear with us as we attempt to use remote tools. Instructions to call into the meeting or participate from a computer are provided on the agenda on the city's website at www.cityofvacaville.com. Callers who wish to comment can press *9 to get into the speaking queue. Computer users can click the raise hand button within their Zoom controls to request to speak. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Commissioner Berruman.
Present.
Commissioner Leonard.
Here.
Commissioner Lujan.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
I am present.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Here.
Vice Chair Rucker.
Here.
And Chair McMahon.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Vasquez, would you please lead us in the pledge this evening, ma'am?
I'd be happy to. Thanks, Chair McMahon. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Item 3, approval of the agenda. I understand that there are some changes this evening to the agenda. Madam or Director Walker, would you like to address those, please?
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Yes, agenda item 5, correspondence. I'm requesting to amend that item as we have received some correspondence.
Okay, very good. So item number 5 is amended. With that amendment and that change, I'm looking for a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
This is Commissioner Thompson. I motion approval.
And a second, please.
This is Commissioner Leonard. I second.
Okay, Thompson and Leonard. A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Berruman.
Here.
Commissioner Leonard.
Aye.
Commissioner Lujan.
Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rucker.
Aye.
And Chair McMahon.
Aye. Item number 4, approval of minutes for the December 2nd, 2020 meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? I see none. I'll accept a motion, please.
This is Commissioner Vasquez. Motion to approve.
And a second.
Commissioner Berruman, second.
Vasquez and Bruman, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Berruman.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard.
Aye.
Commissioner Lujan.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rucker.
Aye.
And Chair McMahon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5, correspondence. Madam Director, would you like to address the correspondence this evening, ma'am?
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Yes. Correspondence was received after the publication of the agenda. All commissioners should have received the correspondence. There are 3 correspondence. The first one is from Marilee Shaw, related to pickleball. The second, and I'm not even going to attempt the name, but it's signed by G.D., is related to agenda item 8A. And the last correspondence is from Jay Yerkes, and it also is related to agenda item 8A. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Director Walker. And I did receive that email. I had a chance to review that. I hope the other commissioners did as well. So we appreciate the correspondence. Thank you. Item 6 is presentations. I see none this evening. We are now at agenda item number 7, business from the floor. This is the time to address the commission with issues that are not on the agenda within the commission's subject matters jurisdiction. Maximum 3 minutes per speaker. And Madam Secretary, do we have anyone from the public this evening for public comment?
Yes, we do. We have Courtney Whitaker. Courtney, I will open your mic.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Courtney Whitaker. I'm here in regards to the Vacaville Bobby Sox. I'm the president this year for the organization. And I just wanted to, briefly talk about the vandalism that recently happened at Nelson Park and wondering, it's not the first time. And this time there was a lot more damage done, not only to our stuff, but also to the score boxes and different areas of Nelson itself. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that you guys can do, we can do to help maybe put in some more security measures, some better lighting, some, cameras so we can see who's vandalizing it. Something that we could do to maybe help and prevent or detour, the what's going on, and I had spoke briefly with Reggie about it, and one of the people that were actually caught in the act was there because he was looking for a warm place to sleep. He wasn't caught. According to the police, he didn't have any evidence that he actually did the break-in. He was just using it because it was open. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of safety measures that we can take to help protect our things that you guys allow us to keep at that field. Thank you.
Courtney, thank you very much. And it's unfortunate that happened to the Bobby Sox. I know how important that equipment is, and it takes a lot of power to get that and fundraising, and it's unfortunate that has happened to you. And Reggie, would you like to address that? Is there anything that we can do differently that we're not currently doing at this point, Reggie?
Thank you, Commissioner Chair. This is, this happens around this time of year with the Connex boxes out at the ball fields because, they're not used. It's the off season and just people see it as an opportunity. And as Courtney mentioned, it's very unfortunate that someone got in there just looking for a place to keep warm. But we absolutely can work with our local law enforcement to see what other means we can put in place to try to divert some of the vandalism and some of the things that are going on at some of these Connex boxes. And it does. I mean, unfortunately, it happens at other parks as well. And that's one of the more secure parks because it's actually fenced in a little more than the others. But it's probably one of the darker lit parks as well. It's kind of tucked between Vacaville and Nelson Park, where the Connex box is. So, but yeah, I can make contact with Courtney and the Bobby Sox folks. And just kind of brainstorm and see what we can do to just get a better secure area, or maybe I'm not sure about cameras, but maybe better lighting. But we can brainstorm on that. I can talk to Courtney offline on that. Absolutely.
Thank you very much for that, Reggie. And Courtney, thank you very much for the call. And perhaps that's something that we can address at future YSAT meetings. Unfortunately, it's a trying time for a lot of people, and there is no excuse for vandalism or theft like that. But hopefully together we can brainstorm and come up with some ideas and hopefully eliminate that. So I appreciate the call, Courtney, and thank you, Reggie.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any other callers on the line, ma'am?
No other callers.
Okay, very good. We'll close business from the floor, and we are now at agenda item 8, business. Director Walker, would you like to introduce item 8A, please?
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Tonight's item, approval of Eleanor Nelson Park Master Plan, is going to be presented by Recreation Manager Reggie Hubbard. But before I turn it over to Reggie, just quick background. This item was brought to the Commission in December of 2019. The Commission provided input, and we've had some delays because of some environmental related issues, and so we're thrilled that tonight we are ready to present this to the commission for action. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to the project manager, Reggie Hubbard, and along with our consultant, MDG. Reggie?
Thank you, Director Walker. Good evening, Commission Chair, Commissioners. Just a few quick things before handing it over to our consultant, Milton Design Group, who we've been working with over the past year and a half, on a plan to just make improvements to the undeveloped portions of the park. Of course, we had a few hiccups along the way, with the pandemic, of course, that we're still in, and then that dreaded elderberry beetle. But we worked through those issues, and otherwise, I think the process went fairly well. And when we started this process, we wanted to make sure that our outreach efforts were, kind of included the surrounding residents and our user groups with regard to our community meeting. So typically when we have a project such as this, we go out, we use a radius of 600 feet when we're sending out mailers, et cetera. With this project, we actually went out 1 mile because what we realized was 600 feet was only going to get us to 600 residents that we'd have noticed for our first public meeting. And so we went out 1 mile. We used a radius of 1 mile, which produced over 3,000 mailers. In addition, we also used the Nextdoor app, our Facebook page, and other social media outlets to make sure we had a good cross-section of input from residents and in addition to user groups. We also, of course, invited the primary user in the spring, which is our local Bobby Sox organization. So I think we received a good amount of input from a cross-section of residents and user groups and came up with a pretty good plan. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Patrick Farrar from Milton Design Group, who will walk us through the plan at this time.
All right, good evening. Thank you, everybody, for allowing us to join you and present the project that we've become involved with recently. As Reggie gave a nice overview, we are also saddened to hear about the vandalism, and I'm bringing it up because we are trying to work through these issues, and sometimes it's hard to solve these with just a single item. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as we go through here. Yeah, so next slide, please. So to kind of get everybody up to speed where we've been and where we're at. This is basically the process, what we've gone through. I'm not going to belabor all of this, but we're pretty much in the zone of the green box here. Master plans have been evolved and been developed, and we've received comments, cost estimating, and now we're at the stage where this draft final is in front of you folks tonight. And yeah, so we're very close to getting to the end. We did have a few things that came up in the middle, as Reggie talked about, and we'll address how that's affected our design. Next slide, please. So most of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with the site. Just want to show this for the sake of anybody who's not. This site, bounded by these 2 roads, main roads, and they provide great access to our site, but they also bring in, traffic, and we have heard through comment, people that live nearby and the users, how that also creates safety problems. And so it's a double-edged sword. We have great access, in fact, in this neighborhood, we also have to deal with, speeding cars and just turning movements in and out of the park that might be problematic. Adjacent to their site to the north is the school, and we'll talk about the role of that school in that space in a moment. As we look at the site plan, can you go back one? Thank you. As we look at the site plan, I just want to point out, it's pretty obvious. We have the 2 major ball fields, as you'll see, with a skinned infield. And then to the right, we kind of have this natural area where most of the, if not all, the elderberries were. Next slide, please. So again, just to get some background info and help people understand where we've come from and where we are now, the initial layout for the ball fields at least had proposing 3 full-size fields. And the one field would require some cooperation with the city and the school, and that would create that third full-size field. That did not happen, but you'll see how we adapted and how the design evolved because of that. Next slide, please. So looking at our site, kind of big picture, it's kind of easy to understand it in kind of bite-sized pieces. And if we look at it as if it were in 3 areas that do knit together, but if we talk about them as 3 distinct areas, in the upper left in the yellow, we have developed, this program that included a new parking lot. The softball fields have been enhanced. We have a mini ball field, as we'll call it. And we enhanced the event area with a concession and consolidation of that with new restroom facilities, and created a nice entry plaza that and sequence that comes from the parking lot, the existing parking lot, but creates this nice entry to the existing ball fields. If we go down to the middle, this kind of new play area, if you will, includes a few different areas that relate to each other, but also have little bits of separation as, for safety of the children and also just for maintenance. We have a water play area that doesn't want to be next to an area that has a lot of waste material or bark fall material that may get in that area. So we have them adjacent to each other. We feel we sited them in such a way that we've created a plaza area that kind of uses the water play as a hub, and you'll see that as we get into the design. And then we have areas around it that help to enhance the area and allow spectators to gather, and also parents to keep an eye on their children. The upper right in the blue kind of color is where, again, the elderberries were, and also some other plants, some non-native plants, some native plants, oaks. And this area, as we'll discuss in a little more detail, is going to be more on the passive side as far as development, and but it creates another opportunity for this park, different user groups, and just a different quality of experience. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as we went through design development, we got input from the community, as Reggie had talked about. We talked with the Bobby Sox folks and understood some of their concerns and also some of their wants and needs, and developed, this more developed kind of site that also allows for a different experience. And what you're looking at is this entry to the ball field area in the upper left that just creates a nice sequence that you have arrived. Tournaments are hosted here. It's a place for people from out of town to experience, Vacaville and this field and this league in a new way. If you go to the lower left, we have created a plaza area that could be used in nighttime, and especially in the summer nights when it's warm. And you'll see that we've located the concession and restrooms near there, and it's kind of a hub for all the field activity at that end of the park. We also create opportunities for different types of iconic pieces of art that may be associated with sports, and it's yet to be designed, but it could be a number of things. We're just showing a few elements that are suggestive of what could be done. Okay, next slide. Yeah, so as we kind of look at the parts, this is kind of where we landed. There's many steps to this. We're kind of hurrying it along for brevity tonight, but I would like to focus on a few things here, specific as it came to feedback. And one of the overriding things, I'm sure everybody's aware, is the lack of parking, especially when there's a lot of user groups and a lot of players at the field or people from out of town, tournaments and play. So adjacent to the school in the upper left, it's a whole new parking lot there. We gained 25 new spaces, and that's where the mini ball field is, the T-ball, the warm-up area. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, so that area serves as almost an entry that could be controlled if there are tournaments. So it's just the user groups up in those areas. And we also have, staying with parking, we have in the lower quadrant on the right, developed more parking that tied to the existing parking. And that's where you'll see the parking summary. So we have, you'll see the summary there where we added spaces. So the total count is now up to almost 160 spaces. And this configuration was arrived at in such a way that based on user input and also from the city, we had comments, and I believe law enforcement weighed in as well. And so we're trying to be sensitive to the neighbors that are here. We could grab more spots in this area if we chose to deepen this parking lot, but we were looking at law enforcement having a clear view from Marshall Road into the site without having to enter the site. They could spotlight it or just see if anybody's back there in their cars or otherwise. And also to give the adjacent neighbor some comfort that no one is back there at all hours of the night. So this parking count was developed with some of those constraints in mind. We could gather a few more spaces. It's just what do we want to use the some of this parkland for parking or not? As we go a little deeper into the site, you can start to see in the natural area. I'll start there. What we discovered when we had the discovery of the elderberry, the beetle, is that there were some constraints, and we thought they'd be much more severe than they turned out to be. So what you'll see is if you look at a single plant where my cursor is, there's a stem that's identified by the environmental consultant, and then the outer.
Hey, Patrick, I'm sorry to stop you. We can't see your cursor though on the screen. Sorry.
I think.
Oh, there you go.
Oh. Is it? Can you see it now?
No, I can move the cursor, Patrick. I'm not.
Oh.
If you can just say what you were the picture that you wanted us to look at again.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Yeah, in the upper right where the natural area is, that's where the elderberry were. So you'll see a series of green colors, and there's a dot. I think you're doing really good there, Tracy. There's a dot, and then there's a light green area, which is the drip line, basically where the vegetation ends. And then there's a darker kind of a forest green, which is the setback that we have to adhere to avoid any mitigation measures. And what those mitigation measures were would be kind of onerous as far as fee and time. So we felt that let's use this as an asset. So we have mapped out in that area that this could be more of a natural area. It can be a learning environment area for children. We can have interpretive panels to understand what's going on here. We can have revegetation with natural plant species. It's primarily an oak woodland. There are some moisture areas that could be riparian that may they're wet soils, they're riparian that may not stay wet all year. And so we have a circuitous route. It'd be a soft, a natural path, either decomposed granite or something else. And so this again would be an area for discovery and also learning. As we get into, one moment as I zoom, can you go to the next slide, please? As we go into the play area, there's quite a bit going on here. So first I'll start with a ball field entry. These are enlargements of what we had seen previously. So again, the ball field entry connects to the existing parking. We have this existing pathway. We try to preserve as many trees as possible, but also create opportunities for new experiences. And some of these what are called tented areas, these orange squares, that's for any festivals or if in other times of the year when it's not being used for softball, you can have different user groups in there, whether it's a festival, farmer's market, whatever you choose. So it creates this atmosphere. And if you recall the lighting that was there earlier, the string lights really create kind of a nice entry. And then up at the top of this image, you'll see there's the restroom and concession that are one building. Yes, thank you. And to conserve space and also to enhance those facilities, they're new and they're pretty much drop in place prefab, and we can customize them however we would like. And so I think we were proposing to have more, female units inside than male, just for the balance and to move the flow of people through. And then the concession is there to generate more revenue. You have a little picnic event area there for people to hang out, and they can see both fields if they choose. So really trying to take what's there, work with it, work with the existing trees. Some of the telecom stuff is being relocated just to consolidate it against the school lot and use what we have here and enhance it. As we kind of move to the other enlargement, the play area, it's quite a lot going on here, but I'll just briefly kind of walk through it. And we have, again, in the middle, if you can find the middle area with the water play, yes, it's kind of a whitish color, is you'll see that central area very good right there. It's almost a plaza, and you have series of amenities surrounding it, and it kind of serves as a hub. So what we try to do was have this amenity here. We have restrooms and they can be used. They're very close by and safe. We have picnic shelters, different sizes to accommodate user groups that can be also used by the Bobby Sox players, and when their games are done or they're waiting for the tournaments to continue. And so this area is very close to the ball field area and also to existing pathway. We also have, Tracy, if you can kind of window in the kind of the southern area, there's some bocce ball court areas for adults, exactly right there. Suggested pickleball. These are, kind of passive and quiet sports for adults and people of all age, actually. And then off to the kind of to the right is more of the adventure play. This is where, kids can design their own games and, whether it's a net that they use, where there's balance beam, climbing boulders, to challenge themselves a little bit in such a way that it's not off-the-shelf play equipment. And then back to kind of the left, Tracy, there's a adjacent to the ball field, you'll see kind of a semicircle. This is kind of where we're showing some of the inclusive play stuff that we'll talk about in a moment. So keep your eye on that. Okay, let's just go to the next slide. Yeah, so in a little more detail, we talk about some of the play areas there, and that inclusive play has the light aqua color. You can see the fall surfaces are different, more of the poured in place for safety, but also just has a different feel under you. And we try to incorporate things that stimulate the senses, whether it's auditory or just all the senses, and also create places for them, people that may not want to fully engage in these sports or activities that have so much intensity, they can see and participate in a way that's comfortable for them. And we can show, I believe we show some of the play equipment that might be appropriate for them. You also see the pickleball courts, very popular with all ages now. This is actually a good sport because I've seen in almost every park where they are is the first people to arrive in the morning are seniors. And so they get out early and occupy the courts. They create life in your parks. They are eyes on your community, so one way to deal with vandalism is just to have people always watching. And so pickleball, not only a great activity, but it gets the early morning users to your park. As we also kind of go around, you'll see some of the more adventure play. These kids like to test themselves in their bodies and their minds and be able to fail in somewhat safe ways. Okay, next slide, please. So to go in a little more detail about the inclusive play, these, we think about, these parks and these amenities, we think of for the children, but also think about the component of an adult who's playing with their child. I've seen it a few times now when I've been out, that you have adults who are now able to interact with their children. If they're in a wheelchair, the adult is, they can now roll out onto these poured in place surfaces that are safe for children and for them, and they can be close to their children instead of being 20 feet away on the sidelines. So let's think about all ages interacting with their together, and everybody with all abilities. So again, I won't go through all these principles. You have them. I encourage you to look at them. This is kind of where we were trying to go with this, and I think some of the elements, if you look in detail, address that. Okay, next slide, please. So looking a little more closely, I'll just go around the horn. Number one, this is one of those pods that allows people to participate, but also they're somewhat sheltered. They feel comfortable, but they're still in the hub of activity and they're safe. And also the parents might feel safer there. And then the auditory, the music and the participation with others. There's different types of musical elements, and those are very popular and rugged, believe it or not, for the users. And then some of this, the safer slides, these wide slides that don't have twists and turns and they're not covered. There's very little chance of catching an arm or a hand on anything, and you can interact with others. You can see also to the side, there can be other elements that can be played upon on this hill. And then the swinging. I like this picture because it shows people of all ages like to swing, as they say. And you'll frequently see adults when they let their guard down, they'll join their kids or even participate on their own. And it's just, there's something about it that's enjoyable to all folks. And then again, the inclusive play, if you look at number 5, you can see the surfaces are bright and delineated. There's subtle cues of where to go, what's a travel way for you to walk through, where is actually a play item. And also it's easy to get on and off and participate with your family. You can see kids of all ages and adults are participating in that picture. So again, I encourage you to look at these elements that are listed and described on the right side by number. Next slide, please. Yeah, so down to the nitty gritty. I mean, we built cost estimates for this. We have broken them out. These are kind of not all the details. These have been rolled up into the different areas. We can talk about these in more detail. I think there's another slide here of cost estimating. Yeah, so this is kind of where we're at. They're broken out so you can look at things, itemize them by area. And this again is one item that actually is that was removed from here. So we had quite a large budget. Reggie, you may remember, for just the elderberry mitigation, we had put a contingency number in there, so that has been removed, and so that benefit goes back to the park. It's not a cost anymore. There are some costs to develop that area, but the true mitigation was up around, going from memory, around almost $700,000. So that will now be money that's spent on the community and on the park itself. So yeah, so that's about it for now. I think the final slide is just a Q&A. Yeah, so we have developed a master plan booklet that'll come out after we go through this and develop comments. There'll be much more detail in there. This is just a quick taste and introduction, and we welcome questions and comments.
Patrick, thank you so much for the presentation. It's exciting. I've had the opportunity to work with you for a couple of years on this now, and it's exciting to be sitting here and watching you present this tonight to the commission. So thank you very much. And I do see that we have a hand raised from one of our commissioners. We'll open it up for commissioner comments at this time. Commissioner Lujan.
Yes, thank you so much for that presentation. I really appreciated it. And I really liked how you're also having the inclusive play as a part of it. I think it's a really value added to the park itself and the community. I did want to ask, I know just to make sure, sorry if I didn't hear it, but originally there were 2 ball fields, correct, that were lighted. Is that staying the same? Or are we still planning with the 2 ball fields that will be lighted?
Yeah, if I can answer that, Commissioner Lujan. Currently, there are 2 lighted ball fields at Nelson Park. The mini field will not have lights. The new field that we're proposing will not have lights.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi, good evening, Commissioner Vasquez. I just want to say this plan looks great. I'm really excited for Nelson and its users and the surrounding community. The exterior park just looks amazing, and it's actually nice to hear the presentation and hear more about the different elements. I do have a couple of questions though. The small parking lot that's up in the top left, that says that's 25 spaces, but is that 25 included in the little table that's calculating the total new spaces, or is it 159 spaces now plus that additional 25?
You want to take that one, Patrick?
Yes, I just found my mute button. Yeah, I'm actually looking at that table and I see where the confusion is. Yeah, so the upper right is 25 new, so those are brand new. We did on the lower right, we did have to lose a few parking stalls to help with the entry off of Marshall Road, but the total net down there is 60, so that's 85. Yeah, 85 net. So I see that table is a little bit incorrect. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. Well, that's, I mean, I guess even better.
And if I can interrupt for a second, so the total, again, there's some existing along Marshall Road which we did not touch. So the total spaces are the 159.
Okay, so the 159 does include that 25 up top or does not?
It does include that. It also includes the new 60 spaces.
Okay.
That's the total for the park, I guess, off-street parking. Does that make sense?
I think, I don't know.
Okay. So parking within the park, no street parking is counted, is 159 spaces.
Okay. Okay, so then it's a total 159. It's not 159 plus the 25.
Correct.
Okay. And then I had another question. So I see the addition of the pickleball court with the bocce ball court, and that, you know, that was something that as I went back and looked through the December 2019 presentation, that looks like it's new. But I'm wondering, based on the correspondences that we received today, it sounds like, you know, these user groups need actually more courts and more space and actual lighting. So I'm wondering how feasible that, or I guess how, is that the best use of space in that particular spot for a pickleball court, considering based on some of the feedback. I know the commission has also received feedback in the past about pickleball, but also just the recent correspondence that we received from today. So I don't know if that can really be answered right now, but I just wanted to throw that out there. My other note was just about the splash pad and operation and maintenance. While it seems like a really great idea, I'm just wondering, do we have a sense of the cost of splash pad maintenance annually? Like, what does it cost to run Magnolia Park? And is that something that like we assess, City Council assess, Planning Commission, who assesses that in terms of parks and development, in terms of building into actual master plans? I don't know if someone can answer that.
Well, we work, of course, closely with, I'm sorry, Commissioner Vasquez, this is Reggie, closely with Public Works, and I'm sure that they have a good idea of what the annual maintenance cost is at Magnolia Park, which would be similar to this splash pad. And usually if you don't have recirculated water, which we don't intend on having that, where you have water that's goes down and goes from the pump and comes back out, and it's not as expensive because then you're dealing with pumps and things break and things like that. So it's not as expensive as folks think when you just have just a simple splash pad. But absolutely, we would work with Public Works on securing the proper numbers for maintenance, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Is that something that we could maybe have brought back to the commission, just so we have a general sense of when we are thinking about about master plans and redevelopment of parks, and even just in general, like water conservation, is that something that we could, maybe see or hear about at some point? I know that's a little off topic, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Reggie. This is Director Walker. I think that's a reasonable request, Commissioner Vasquez, to just have a discussion related to water features in general. I think one of the main reasons being that with all of the community engagement that we've done within the last couple of years, it's one of the things that folks in our community are requesting. It's like the top of the list. So I think we definitely can have a more overarching discussion related specifically to water features.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much, Director Walker. One other thought too, just as we are talking about Nelson as a whole, that the master plan is about the undeveloped parts of the park, but Nelson is kind of one of those older parks. And so when we are thinking about the undeveloped parts of the park, that the existing parts of the park, like the fields and the maintenance of those fields, that those things really need to be considered. Those fields are pretty worn down. The scoreboards aren't operational. The stadium seating is all really old, and the score boxes are pretty old. So I do hope that that's something that is considered in the future and kind of built into the equation at some point, because it'd be, it's going to be an amazing, beautiful park if and when we ever get to this master plan. So it would be really great to see some improvements on the actual existing fields. And then one other thought that I was thinking about as, we received the agenda and received the notes and this final master plan is in the future. I'm wondering if, when these master plans or different committees come up and a commissioner who was appointed to that commission and rotates off, or their term has ended, it'd be really great for the committee or the commission to have a discussion about having an additional representation on that. I know Chair McMahon served on this master plan, but it went kind of like 6, 7, 8 months without an additional commissioner, and I think having an additional voice would have been really good. So it's something I wish I would have thought of back in I don't know when our first commission meeting was, May, to have brought to light, because I think that would have been good to at least just have another voice or someone else on the commission or on this master plan representing the commission. And I think that's all I have for now, but thank you very much for this presentation. It was great. I'm super excited and can't wait to see Nelson redeveloped.
Yeah, can I address quickly a couple of those questions that came up?
Yes, sir, Patrick. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So in regard to pickleball and bocce, let's say that those areas are somewhat fluid. If you have comments that you received recently, one way or the other, I think we can accommodate more court sports. Okay, so let's just leave it at that we'd be amenable to trying to locate those, especially if users want them. Rough order of magnitude on a splash pad. So everybody's concerned with maintenance. Greg here, our principal, just tapped me on the shoulder as he walked out, and most municipalities are programming about 10 to 12,000 per year. It's not all used per year because you have routine maintenance or replacement of nozzles. So you have to bank, maybe $4K per year that you may spend every third year, right? And one thing I want to leave you with on the splash pad is think of these as multi-use features, not just for the activity, but the amenity can also create, I'm seeing this a lot of warm communities, hot communities, that they use them as cooling stations, believe it or not. Some people don't have AC or a way to cool themselves when it's really hot, and these are really well used. Maybe think of them as more than just play. And I thank you.
Thank you very much for that, sir, and thank you for your comments. Any further comments, Commissioner Vasquez?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand, but I did have one other comment just about the budget that was presented. There was a line allocation. I don't know if we can go back to that slide on ball fields improvements. And I guess kind of back to my previous note about the existing field, is that just for, is that allocation right there, or projected cost estimate for the existing 2 fields?
Reggie, would you like to address that, sir? And I understand the cost estimate, that's going to come more in phase 2. Is that correct, Reggie?
Well, there would be more detail in the budget. I'm sorry, in the pamphlet that's coming. This is just an overall cost estimates, but the ball field improvements, that's the overall ball field, not the existing ball field improvements. You have the mini ball field, but then when we're talking about ball field improvements, the areas around the ball fields is what we're talking about. There'll be no like new sod or new dirt put into the existing ball fields. So there wouldn't be any current improvements. This doesn't touch those existing ball fields, this particular master plan. Although we will be working, I mean, we plan on working with, Bobby Sox and some of the user groups to address some of the concerns that you brought up, Commissioner Vasquez, about old scoreboards and things like that would look outdated. I mean, you don't want to have this nice new park, like you mentioned, and then have all this old equipment that's kind of an eyesore. So to make those improvements, we would look at that and then work with some of the user groups to help kind of subsidize some of those things as well.
Thank you, Reggie.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. I had one comment, sort of a question, and a second question. The first one is, if you don't mind going back to the picture of the layout. Thank you. I had a question about that ball field that sits right in the middle of the complex, and the end of the ball field is immediately adjacent to some of that play area. What is the height of the fence? I'm not familiar, intimately familiar with that ball field. What is the length of that ball field? My concern is a couple of years ago, Downtown Winters did a fabulous construction of a playground at the end of the ball field off of 4th Street. And I watched as several teams out there for practice hit home run balls right into the play structure. So that obviously created a hazardous situation. I don't want to repeat that error here. So something we need to take into mind, or I strongly recommend we take into account the length of that ball field and the height of that fence, since it looks like, and this, I'm sure this is not to scale, but I can't see a scale, but it looks like it butts right up adjacent to where kids will be playing on some of those structures. So that's my comment, sort of question. And then the second one was about the correspondence that we received from Mr. Yerkes, who apparently lives at 152 Adrian Court, which backs up to one section of this. What is the process for having that addressed, or his concerns addressed? It looks like, according to him, that part of this plan encroaches on his property. So I certainly want to make sure that our community members are happy and ready and willing and able to use our new master plan for Eleanor Nelson Park, because it is beautiful.
Yeah, and this is, thank you, Commissioner Thompson. I can answer both those questions. The existing ball fields are 300 feet, and the fences are 12 to 15 feet high, so they're really high fences.
Okay.
Because when this park was initially built, it was built for adults. And so I can probably attest to, and maybe Commissioner Vasquez as well, that I don't think I've seen a Bobby Sox player hit a ball out of this park. I mean, it potentially could happen if you're having adults, men playing at the park, which is rare, but you could have tournaments there. But as far as Bobby Sox, I don't foresee any balls going over that fence, but we'll definitely take that into account. But it is a 300-foot fence with a 12 to 15 some odd high fence out there.
Okay.
Related to the correspondence with Mr. Yerkes, this had come up before, and when we plotted out the plan, I would just say his information on where the property lines were didn't jive with what we got from the county. So we'll be contacting him to work that out.
Okay. That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Leonard.
Yeah, compliments. It's exciting to see this come together because it seems so comprehensive and touches on so many different community groups with the inclusive play for people of all abilities. Seems like there's something for the neighborhood and small children and seniors. I love that we have worked with and embraced the natural space and the native plants, and that we've created a better space for our athletic and youth sports communities, which are really instrumental to maintaining a sense of community in Vacaville. So it's exciting to see all those things come together. Most of my questions have been answered. On the budget side, there were 2 slides. And so am I to understand that the overall budget roughly at this point is about $10.6 million with the 2 slides combined? Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. And
okay.
The way we broke it down or attempted to break it down, just in case we needed to phase this project and maybe do the mini field side and the new concession building and restroom area first, and maybe the natural area and the splash pad and the more southern eastern side of the park, that we will be able to do that, and we would have a budget that would phase it in. If we couldn't find the funds to do the entire project, maybe we do one side first and doing the other side at a later point. And that's why we wanted to break it out the way we did. So yes, the total is $10 million, but
yeah,
broken out into 2 phases. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that accurately. Is there any lighting in the bocce ball, pickleball area currently in the plan?
There wouldn't be any lighting for there to be nighttime play in those areas, but there would be what we would call, or PD would call, like security lighting, the dim lighting that you would have in parks. So if the police rode through the park, they can at least see who's in there, but not something where you would have activity in the park in the evening hours.
Okay. So to Commissioner Vasquez's point, it sounds like we have a little bit of flexibility to maybe make some adjustments if needed for spacing, but the likelihood of adding lighting in an area at this point in the plan is probably unlikely. Is that an accurate statement?
That is an accurate statement.
Okay. So we may be able to provide more sports, but not lighting. Okay. And then everyone else answered all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Leonard. And Vice Chair Recker, did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, just more of a statement, because like everyone else, my questions have been answered, so thank you. But going into this project has been cool because I've been on this commission now for 4 years. I've seen, I heard about some of the updates with this, and 4 years ago I knew next to nothing about this entire process, and now I know a tiny bit more. Still feel like I know nothing, a little, but it's just been really cool to see the city commissioners, staff, just everybody really come together. I feel like this project, just looking at this now, has something for everybody. And the first time I saw this, I know there were some questions just from the community, and just really wanted to commend just everybody involved in working with this, working on this, just to take everybody's points really into account and take them seriously. If and when this comes to fruition, which I certainly hope is a when, I know that there are going to be families all over that really benefit from this, from the baseball fields, even that mini field is just incredible. The walking space, I'm just really excited for it. So anyway, thank you all. Just wanted to commend you all for working on it.
Thank you very much for that. Any other commissioner comments or questions for our consultant? Perfect. Well, I would like to say just the same. I have had the privilege of working on this committee for 4 years. One of the first committees that I had the pleasure to serve on as a commissioner. It is exciting tonight to see this plan in front of me. And I totally agree. This plan and this park brings something for everyone in this community. So it's really exciting. It's exciting for this community park. It's exciting for this neighborhood. It's exciting for Bobby Sox. We are, again, it brings something for everybody. And I'm extremely excited that it's just the inclusive play part of it. It's exciting to see that all of our citizens are going to be able to somehow enjoy this park. So with that said, I would like to open it up for public comment, please. Madam Secretary, or is there any one from the public that'd like to speak?
Yes, Chair. Courtney Whitaker, I will open your mic.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, good evening again. Courtney Whitaker with Vacaville Bobby Sox. Thank you. I have to say that from the first time I saw this plan, it definitely is coming together. I do have a few questions / concerns, one being something that was already mentioned in regards to just the upgrades, and Reggie did answer that. Having a nice, beautiful park in the fields that currently exist, it doesn't make sense. One thing that I did notice in the plan was that it states that there's a couple turf areas, and I'm curious to know, you said that there won't be any new sod or anything, but it's mentioning turf. So that is just a question in regards to if that is actually going to be turf or if it will remain grass. And then another concern is parking still. Last year we had 350 registrations, and if you've ever been to one of our opening days, people park at the school, at the churches. If you're running late, you have to walk about 2 miles to get into the field. And so parking is a problem as it exists right now with our organization, and that is without adding all the beautiful aspects of the park. And the concern is how much is the new attractions going to take up from our already lacking parking. And I know there are some added, but it just seems for that much park that maybe we could put in more. And then the next would be fencing in regards to the mini field. Wondering, we already, have vandalism and issues with it. How will the fencing be for security reasons? Will it be open all the time to the public, or will they extend the existing fence to go around that as well? And then the last thing that I have is time frame when this goes into effect. Will it affect a season for the Bobby Sox? That is a big concern. I think that's all my questions for now.
Courtney, thank you very, very much. I would just like to say this. So the maintenance part of it, and I know that this has been an issue for the last year or so. I would hope, and I'm sure it is being addressed with YSAT at the YSAT meetings. And I did hear from several participants from last year, and I know last year has been a challenging year and a different year, and we really didn't get to use those fields like we wanted to, and our athletes weren't out there. But what I did hear was that the fields were in pretty good condition. So, I know that Bobby Sox and other sports leagues have expressed that the fields needed attention. And I think it's safe to say that they did get that attention from the city, from Public Works. And it's a ongoing effort, and we will continue to meet those requests, I think. So I think that we are moving in the right direction there. You did mention, Courtney, about parking at Vacaville. That's always an option. So obviously if we add more parking spots, that takes away from the park. So it was a fine balance. And I know there were several different plans, tentative plans, and we looked at them. And this is the one that we collectively came up with because we want to make sure that the park is enjoyed and we have as much park as we can without filling it up with concrete parking spots. So it was a fine balance, and I hope that we have found that balance that is appropriate and satisfactory to everyone. And then also the fencing. One of the things, and the fencing has come up, we want to ensure that this park is open to the public. So if we put a fence around it, the public can't use it. So again, it's a fine line and a balance that we have to find. And again, I hope that we have found that, and I hope that this park is used by everyone because it is, again, a community park. And then for the turf, Patrick, would you like to address that, sir?
Yes, I can. I'm looking at the plan and I think it's misleading. So I believe where she's looking is in the existing ball field. It says open turf play. Yeah, so this is just an opportunity for multi-use of the fields. You know, people play Frisbee and those kind of soft sports. So it's not proposing anything new. I can see where the confusion starts though.
Thank you very much for that explanation, and I hope that answered your questions, Courtney.
The only other one I had was the time frame. You know, will it when they go in to start building and stuff, will it affect our season, or will they be planning around that?
Yeah, that's hard to say, Reggie. Would you have do you have an explanation for that, sir?
You know, that's a tough one because I'm not sure if it would, you know, when the construction starts, how would it impact the fields? But I'm sure it would have some impact. But absolutely, the city would work with Bobby Sox to relocate you guys to a suitable place to have your season. We wouldn't shut it down and just say, you know, you have to shut your season down for a year. So we would make sure, and the only other place probably would be Alpatch Park, of course, that has softball fields. But we would work with Bobby Sox to make sure that you have a place to play your season. If it rolled into your spring season, we would make every attempt to work around that. But if it happened to go into the spring season, we'd work with you guys to find a accommodation for you. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reggie, and thank you for the question and comments, Courtney. I appreciate it. Madam Secretary, any other callers on the line, ma'am?
There are none there.
Thank you very much. I will come back to the commission. Any further commissioner comments or questions regarding Nelson Park? I'm sorry, Commissioner Bruman, I saw your hand earlier. I hope I didn't miss you. Go ahead, sir.
Commissioner Bruman. Oh, it's the only reason I put my hand down because everybody was asking the questions I had to ask. And to echo off Commissioner Vasquez, now, originally there is a fence that locks those two fields in. Is that third one part of that?
Reggie, can you answer that, sir?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Berman, what was the question again?
You know that, well, Nelson Park, I used to play on that way back in the day, and that's what made Commissioner Vasquez call it old. She's aging me. But anyway, but originally there was always a fence that locked those two fields in. Is that backfield part of that fencing?
The backfield, the mini field, you mean?
Yeah.
There will not be, the park will not be fenced in any longer, no.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, so.
I mean, the fields will be locked up, but the park will be open.
What's that?
The fields will be locked up, but the park will be open.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, sir. Any further comments, Commissioner Bruman?
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner Vasquez.
I was just going to piggyback off of the concerns about safety and fencing. You know, really opening up this park, you know, brings a lot of concerns and anxiety to me as someone who has formerly been at this park, played at this park, served on the board, and had to lock up this park at 10 and 11 o'clock at night with very few other individuals with me. And so, you know, opening this up widely, like I understand, you know, the desire to have the park open and accessible, but it does bring a lot of concerns and blood pressure going up about having it open, especially when, you know, the primary users are mostly female young girls, you know, and games can last up until after 9 p.m. And so, you know, and a lot of the board is also female. And so just thinking about safety and security, especially also knowing that there's been former, you know, up until recently break-ins. And so I do think that as this plan is continued to be considered, that there should be some additional measures in terms of safety and security around the park. the ball field park, not necessarily the play park and kind of outdoor nature area, but around the green areas of the ballparks.
Thank you, ma'am. And I couldn't agree more. Safety is absolutely important, and we want to ensure that everybody is safe and feels safe out at that park. So your point is valid, and appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
And sorry, just to add to that, Chair McMahon, and also just noting that mini ball field is not lit. So that whole corner in that section, depending on whether or not there's lighting that's going to be placed in that small parking lot, you know, that whole area may be pretty dark. And so I think, again, we need to consider the safety and security of the folks using this park late at night, because these two larger fields are lit, but if that small mini ball field is not going to be lit, you know, does that mean, is there lighting in this parking lot? And you know, what does that mean? That's also a big throwaway through Nut Tree. And so, you know, just want to continue to echo and voice that concern about safety and security.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Vasquez. And Commissioner Bruman, I see your hand is up. Do you have a further question, sir, or comment?
No, I'm sorry. I forgot to lower my hand.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any further commissioner comments or questions for either staff or our consultant for Eleanor Nelson Community Park? Okay, I see none. At this point tonight, we are looking for an approval of the Eleanor Nelson Park Master Plan. Now would be an appropriate time for a motion.
This is Commissioner Leonard. I move to approve the Eleanor Nelson Community Park Master Plan proposal.
Okay, I have a motion and looking for a second, please.
Commissioner Bruno will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have Leonard and Bruman. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Bruman,
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard,
Aye.
Commissioner Lujan,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rucker,
Aye.
Chair McMahon.
Aye. Outstanding. So the motion approves for Eleanor Nelson Park Master Plan.
Chair McMahon, this is Commissioner Vasquez. Can I just ask for a point of clarification? What are then the next steps? Sorry, since this is the first master plan that you know, like we've really been involved and engaged in. What are the next steps? I saw in the staff report it says design and construction plans for phase 2. I guess, what does that mean?
Yes, ma'am. So sticking with the agenda, would that be an appropriate question now? And I'm going to turn that over to staff, either Director Walker or our attorney. Would that be something we can discuss now, or should we stick with the agenda, ma'am?
I think it's related to the item. This is Director Walker. Thank you, Chair McMahon. I think it's related to the agenda item, the Nelson Park Master Plan. That is the next step typically with the master plan, is that you bring on a consultant. Very often it is the consultant who has worked on the master plan, and you move into your design phase and moving toward completing your construction documents. That doesn't mean that you know, all of the comments that the commissioners made tonight continue to be taken into consideration, and it's likely that there is some additional tweaking. I will share that one of the things I heard about, you know, the bocce courts and the pickleball courts, and in light of the correspondence that was received, well, for example, Roberts Ranch Community Park, there are bocce courts and pickleball courts planned for that facility. I think so that we kind of re-inventory or look at, you know, our amenities for both sites and see maybe we consolidate pickleball courts to one site and bocce courts to another. So there is the potential for some tweaking like that along the way.
Thank you, Director Walker. And Commissioner Vasquez, does that answer your question, ma'am?
I think so, but I guess so will it come back through Parks and Rec, or then does it go to Planning Commission? Does it go to City Council? I guess I'm confused on that next step in terms of approvals.
This is Director Walker. It would not come back to dependent, I should say, on the significance of what the changes or revisions might be. I think based on the comments we heard that they would not be significant with this park, so it is likely that it would not come back to the commission for approval. However, whatever those changes that would occur to the master plan would be brought back and reported out to the commission, but it would not come back to the commission for action. And beyond that, really, I don't know how the conditional use permit may be impacted. That kind of determines whether or not, along with environmental issues, whether or not it will go to the planning commission. And so I don't want to get into a lot of depth about that right now because I don't have that level of information right now.
Thank you, Director Walker. And Commissioner Vasquez, any further comments or questions, ma'am?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 8B. Director Walker, please.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. This is the annual approval of the calendar for the regularly scheduled commission meetings for 2021. And for this calendar, we are looking at vacation month in the month of July and December, which is pretty much tradition. And you would meet only if there was something that was time sensitive that needed to be addressed. So the recommendation with this item is by simple motion, accept the 2021 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting calendar, including the cancellation of the July 7th and December 1st, 2021 commission meetings. Are there any questions?
Any commissioner comments or questions for staff? I see none. Being this is business and we are looking to vote on it, I will open it to the public. Any public comment, Madam Secretary?
There are none, Commission Chair.
I see none. And at this time, we are looking for approval of the 2021 calendar for regular scheduled Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. I'm looking for a motion, please.
Commissioner Broman making a motion to approval of the calendar for 2021.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
This is Commissioner Thompson. I second the motion.
Okay, we have Broman and Thompson. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Broman?
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard?
Aye.
Commissioner Lujan?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Rucker?
Aye.
Chair McMahon?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 9A, committee reports, Youth Sports Advisory Team, Commissioner Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Chair McMahon. The Youth Sports Advisory Team meeting was held on, November 19th of last year. It was a fairly somber meeting as just days before we had moved from, Solano County had moved from the red tier into the purple tier. Of course, that has subsequently changed even further. But obviously the youth sports teams leagues were looking for, hoping for some kind of season or movement towards them playing again here in January and February. But that is yet to be determined. All of the leagues have basically been on hiatus. They put everything on hold. Pony was the only one that was accepting registrations, although they admitted that the registration was about 1/10 of what it normally is. In the time, an update in the time since that November 19th YSAT meeting, I can speak that Vacaville American and Vacaville Central Little Leagues have merged to form one league. And so it would be Vacaville American they are hoping to use Centennial Park as their home field, and that would encompass all Little League players ages 6 through 12 in the 95688 area code, and then Vacaville or National Little League would encompass all Little League players in the 95687 area code, with concessions being made for those that formerly played on the other side of the freeway or alternately. So those leagues, I know that I've been in conversations with them, and they are working on that now. Reggie provided some great updates on things that staff was working on. He was providing an update on extensions of contracts that are being worked on currently, and hoping to have those ready by the upcoming January 2021 meeting. Also, staff is internally working on the field allocation documents to be presented to YSAT at some time later this year. And then Reggie updated the YSAT group on some of those repairs that were formerly discussed out at Nelson Park, and they've been sent on to Public Works and in process or trying to find a fix on those. And then Public Works gave some updates on some of the work that they had completed, and a reminder that we are in field moratorium or use for December and January. And double checking my notes, I think that covers the November 19th, 2020 YSAT meeting, unless I missed anything. Reggie, would you like to comment?
No, Commissioner Thompson, I think you covered it all. Our next meeting is January 21st.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that update, Commissioner Thompson, and we absolutely appreciate what you're doing for YSAT. Thank you, sir. Item number 10, reports of Park Planner Hugh Hesterman.
Yes, good evening, Chair McMahon and Commission. I have a few things to report tonight. The first is that our consultant, MIG Incorporated, is continuing work on the Park and Rec Master Plan, which is a huge effort. The Commission will be asked to join in for a workshop on Saturday, February 6th at 8:30 a.m. That will be done via Zoom, we assume. So please put that on your calendar if you don't have it there already. And then just for a little advance planning, we anticipate that the draft master plan will then go to the Planning Commission, be presented to the Planning Commission on Tuesday, February 16th, and then back again to the Park and Rec Commission on Wednesday, March 3rd. And then if everything looks like it should, and like we want it, it would go on to the City Council for their ultimate approval, a review and approval on March 23rd. Those meetings are all at 6 p.m. So that's our draft schedule. We hope to stick with it. It's pretty aggressive at this point, even though the whole project has taken a very long time pulling it all together. But our consultant believes that they can do that. I also wanted to convey that over the years we've continued to receive requests for subdividing the dog park out at Lagoon Valley Park. When it was originally built back in 2002, 2003, it was not subdivided, so we don't have a small area for the small dogs versus the big dogs. And that causes some problems because the big dogs tend to just play more roughly and overrun the little dogs and even some of the elderly dogs. So we are currently conducting some informal surveys to gauge the level of support from the public via social media and some in-person surveys. It looks like just the general response is generally that people would appreciate the existing fenced area to be subdivided. Of course, that makes the large dog area smaller. And unfortunately, there isn't enough. Well, it's pretty tight. It's pretty tight constraints there between the parking lot, the road, and the drainage area. So we're going to be looking at that some more and see what we can do to try to satisfy the public's requests there. And then the slide that Tracy has up for you on the screen was taken on December 28th. This is Dreamers Park over at the Farmstead subdivision, excuse me, it's a little hard to say. This is a westerly view of the park. You can see the model homes off in the distance underneath the canopy of the magnolia tree. Actually, they're not underneath that canopy. They're just off and beyond that tree quite a ways. But I have a series of slides here I wanted to share with you of the current status of this park. And it's interesting because we talked a little bit about the value of turnkey parks and how if you have a developer who is appreciative of the park and recognizes how they add value to their homes that are coming up for sale and how the future residents really appreciate actually having a park ready to go. This is it. This developer is hot on the track to make this park happen. As you can see, he's actually it's Taylor Morrison Homes is actually proceeding much faster on the construction of this park than the original subdivider anticipated. We originally were being requested that the park would be under construction, begin construction when the homes are past halfway built out. And so today, I drove by there today, and there's the 4 model homes that you can see in this picture, and then 3 new homes are already well framed and being insulated. I have a photo of that. So Tracy, would you just put us on a little tour here, and I'll comment on each slide as we go. Here's another picture from December 28th. Underneath the tree there, you can almost see the new picnic area. And the one thing that we should point out here is this site gave us an opportunity to utilize existing trees, existing mature trees. Some of them aren't in the best shape. Well, unfortunately, a lot of them we had to pull out just because they weren't suitable for maintenance in a public park. But the ones that we were able to save and maintain add a whole new element to an otherwise flat area that would take many years, of course, to see any natural shade occur. Next slide, please. So here's that the one magnolia that is just a superb exhibit of that particular kind of tree. And underneath it, you can see the staked forms. That will be where the small picnic area will be. And the concrete pathway that's right in the foreground there cuts from east to west across the park. Next slide, please. This is looking northerly toward Fruitvale from pretty much the southerly end of the park. And you can see some more of the trees that are being retained there. And the forming, all the underground work is pretty much done. The concrete work, the paths, the berms, the mow strips are almost all complete and in place. So this park was coming together very quickly. Next slide, please. Another shot. Oh, maybe you saw this one already. I'm sorry. It's a different view. Again, looking at those existing trees. Yeah, next slide, Tracy. And here's the 3 homes that are well under construction. Others are permitted. So clearly this developer is moving along at a fast pace, and they clearly are very interested and cooperative in getting that park constructed very early on. This will also benefit the city in that we won't hear so many people asking, when is our park going to be built? Because they will see it and they will be able to use it and play in it and picnic in it. That's a very good thing. Next slide, please. Another view. This was taken just this morning. A concrete truck off in the distance. This is looking southeast toward the back corner. You can at the very back corner, just past that concrete truck, is the east-west bike trail that connects from the west side of the subdivision all the way over to Eldridge. And the central pad right there in the middle is just kind of a meeting point where the walkways come together. Next slide, please. Again, and just another view, pretty much of the same thing. Next slide, please. Here's a close-up of the picnic shelter foundation posts. It'll be suitable for a couple tables, and there'll be barbecues there. Not a real big facility, but plenty for a neighborhood park. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm on a different subject now. This, if you look right in the center of the photo, you'll see about a 4-inch shoot. It's actually an oak tree that survived the LNU fire that swept back over the lower Lagoon Valley Southern Hills. And the reason I'm showing this to you is because this is the resulting effort of many Cub Scout hours being spent in those hills after the Nelson fire burned those hills in 2018. It burned up all of the buckeye trees, all of the fencing, and did a lot of damage to some of the not so mature oak trees. And so the Cub Scout groups came out and did a bunch of acorn planting, and they used existing T-posts from that were salvaged from the old fencing and built cattle cages to protect the new trees. And it's just very welcome to see that even though the new fire came through here, that these little seedlings are, some of them, not all of them, some of them are surviving. And then finally, the last slide, please. You can see on this hillside shot here of the cages that were constructed for the new trees, and they're just kind of scattered all over. And hopefully we'll be seeing some mature oaks that come out of this. That's the end of my presentation for tonight. Any questions?
Hugh, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it. And any commissioner comments or questions for Hugh Hesterman? Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi, Hugh. Thank you for this presentation. I just had a quick question and just wondering if that survey about the Lagoon Valley Dog Park, if that could be sent to the commissioners. I know a lot of folks that use that dog park that I could send that on to for additional feedback.
Sure, absolutely. I'm not sure when they were planning to close the survey results. It was on Facebook and I think other social media, but yeah, absolutely. We can send that, get that information to you. It was just intended for a kind of a casual check the temperature. So it was not, statistically valid. It's a small number of people that are using that park down there. Well, I shouldn't say a small number use it, because a lot of people use it. But I mean, as far as the polling, it was an informal poll.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Any further commissioner comments for Hugh Hesterman? I see none. Hugh, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Chair McMahon.
Agenda item 11, reports of Recreation Manager, Melody Ocampo.
Good evening, commissioners. Tracy, I see you're pulling up. Perfect. Thank you. So first up on my report out, we have the Trower Park improvements community meetings. I know I spoke about this and we went back and evaluated some of our dates and just triple checked that we were not having any conflicts. So as you hopefully have seen, and you should have all received an email invitation directing you to our Facebook page, we are hosting 2 meetings. One is coming up this Saturday at 10 a.m. We will do a following one on Wednesday, January 20th at 4 p.m. And I would like to note there was an error that went out on a postcard that was mailed to the surrounding community that stated that it was Saturday, January 20th. So we're doing our best to get the word out and really push that it's a Wednesday. But the actual date, the January 20th at 4 p.m., that is correct. So if you get questions about that, please just make a note of that yourselves. So we again invite you to join us, and we hope to have a good turnout. We've been getting some great feedback from the neighborhood, and we hope to keep that trend going. Next slide, Tracy. All right, this next one, I don't know if that can be bigger. There we go. Safe at Home, I just wanted to highlight one of our virtual teen programs. As you probably can't see that text, but basically it is Safe at Home. It's a 90-minute program that teaches students in grades 4 through 6 how to have safe habits, prevent unsafe situations. It really is just something that a teen can participate in, and will help them feel a little bit more comfortable, not only the teen, but the parent, help them how to deal with an emergency, whether that's weather or the power, or, do you know where to turn off your gas line, getting out of the house in a situation like that. So things like that, as well as exposing them to some basic first aid curriculum as well. So it's just a really cool program, and one of the virtual things that we are able to offer as we're all having to stay home these days. So hopefully we'll be back to socializing soon. All right, next up, Tracy.
I think that's the last slide, Mel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was, I think you're right. Sorry, I didn't have an image for this next one. It is the, just a little update on the Rocky Hill Trail Community Engagement Meeting. We had that on December 22nd, had about 15 to 20 participants. Overall, it went well, a little rough start, but just a little background history on there. The artist kind of did a submission, and there was some community engagement that it went all the way back in September of 2019. We had some staff out at the Rocky Hill Night Out at Rocky Hill Trail event, which is an annual event. And they gathered some initial community feedback. And then the process started where we went out and did a request for proposal to bring in an artist, and ended up bringing someone in who was selected by the Arts Advisory Committee. And then, we kept thinking initially with COVID that we were going to see an end to it, and so we had kind of delayed and really wanted to have this meeting in person. We're talking about public art, and we wanted to do it on site. And so we kept waiting and waiting, and finally went, okay, there's no more waiting. And so we finally hosted this community meeting again, just this past December on the 22nd. And with that huge disconnect, we did, again, get off to a bit of a rough start, but we got some great feedback in the end. And the artist is actually redesigning her entire initial draft based on some really great feedback that we got from community members. So we're really excited to see that and see what she comes up with. I don't have an image because there's nothing really what images I do have are all kind of by the wayside, and we're going with something completely new that is very much community driven. That is it for me, and I know Reggie has something to share about the warming shelter.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. I'm going to weasel in on your time a little bit. Can you scroll all the way to the bottom of the sheet there? Thanks, Tracy. As most commissioners are aware that we're using the Georgie Duke Center as a warming center for our homeless population. We've been doing this for about 5 weeks. I just wanted to share this report that we received from the Opportunity House, who we're partnering with to do this. Over the 5 weeks, they have served 144 individuals so far, 174 shelter bed nights, roughly 1,768 meals have been served, and 365 showers provided. So, I mean, we've had some bumps in the road in offering this program, but at the same time, I think it's meeting the needs of our homeless population at this point. It just got extended, I think, through the end of March. It was scheduled to end at the end of at the end of December, but it got extended by the council. So we'll continue to offer this shelter. I think it's good for the homeless population at this point because it gets really, really cold at night. And so they come to the Duke at 6 p.m. and they leave at 6 in the morning. They get a hot meal, they are in a shower. So I just wanted to share this report with you guys, and I'll probably share the numbers with you guys at every commission meeting. So I just want to throw that in there. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you very much to both of you. Are there any questions or comments for either Melody or Reggie this evening from the commission? I see none. Thank you so much, you guys. We appreciate everything you do, and thank you again for continually engaging with the community, and you make it easy for us. Thank you. Item 12, reports of director, Carrie Walker.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. First, I want to wish everyone a happy new year. It's January 2021, and we have hit the ground running. Just wanted to share a couple of items with you. Your next commission meeting on February 3rd, we're going to detour a bit from our roadmap, and while Hugh still has a portion of the park development process to share with the commission, we're going to jump ahead to the capital improvement project process. We think it's timely and important that we get that presentation to you because budget is right around the corner, and it fits nicely in with your workshop that will happen on February 6th. So we're going to go ahead and get that presentation to you on Wednesday the 3rd, and it will help when we get into the discussion and the presentation on the Park and Rec Master Plan. Hugh mentioned that. It's been a long time coming. We're really, really excited to unveil that and have our consultant present it to the commission. And I think that's about all I have this evening. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Director Walker. Any questions for Director Walker from the commission? I see none, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 13, reports of the commission, and we will start with Commissioner Bruman.
I forget to unmute. I'm over here talking to myself. No, I just got to say, actually, being the newest commissioner on board, I actually took the time and went through all the minutes to catch up with the roadmap. And now to see how Nelson Master Plan came out is very awesome, and all the hard work your staff has put into it is very amazing. If we would have had that back in the day, just with the sprinkler, with the little fountains for out there for the kids, it would have been amazing in those hot days. I think it's going to be very well used by the community. Again, awesome job, and I'm glad to be part of this team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Leonard.
Yeah, tonight I have an update and a possible request from the commission, so I'll start with the update. I serve on the Vacaville Public Education Foundation board, and we have partnered with Vacaville Unified on an after-school program. It's a Solano Youth Outdoors program that's on hold right now because of COVID. But another anchor partner in this project is Sustainable Solano. And this week, Sustainable Solano submitted a grant to USDA for $35,000 to hopefully plant a sustainable edible garden with fruit trees, native pollinators, and things like that, that will be kind of the hub of the after-school program, with the gist of the after-school program being that there's science and career path lessons on Tuesday, and then on Thursdays of every week, we have funding to take the kids out to local parks, local open space, and local farms. So we're excited to see this partnership between 4 major organizations continue, with a focus of really connecting kids to the outdoors and our recreational spaces right in our backyard. So that's an exciting progression in that project that will kind of hopefully spill over across the community. The hope is that it's a pilot program that we can take across the city and across the county. But that's an important step for us in connecting kids to get outside. The second update is a possible request from the commission. Solano County Office of Education, which is where I work, we have partnered with Solano Land Trust, Solano Youth Outdoors, and the Committee for Land and People with an initiative to try to get kids outside and learning about the environment from a wellness perspective, a health perspective, and conservation sustainability perspective, as well as a STEAM component. So Solano County Office of Education has created the Solano Outdoor Explorer Quest, which is almost like a geocache, similar to a geocache. It's a hunt for hidden QR codes where students and teachers, families can find them, scan the QR code, and it plays the 60-second video about native plants and animals. So we have a turkey vulture video, ground squirrels, beavers, buckeye trees, valley oaks, wavy soaproot, things like that. And we place these QR codes where students can experience sign from that animal, likely see that animal or observe the plant. And then there's a whole web page that goes with it that they can find all kinds of more information, what their animal tracks look like, where they migrate to, et cetera, et cetera. We're partnering with Solano Land Trust, and we would like to partner with Vacaville Parks and Recreation and create a outdoor adventure quest with 10 different sites and QR codes around Lagoon Valley Park. And so I was wondering if the commission would be interested in putting that on next month's agenda so that we can make a more formal presentation to fill everybody in on what that plan looks like.
Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Leonard. It sounds exciting, and it sounds like it's needed during this challenging time that we live in. I'll do this. Are there any objections from any of the commissioners as far as putting this on one of the future agendas for our meetings? I see no objections, so I hope, Jennifer, that you could perhaps work with staff, and I think we look forward to the presentation in an upcoming meeting.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Lujan.
No reports at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Thompson.
I have no further updates at this time. I look forward to Commissioner Leonard's presentation or her group's presentation in upcoming months. Just want to wish everyone a healthy and prosperous 2021.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a great holidays the last few weeks. Just wanted to update. I was able to attend some of the recent community engagement meetings on Trower Park and Rocky Hill, the Rocky Hill Art Trail meeting, and just wanted to thank Melody for her ability to lead and facilitate those meetings. I know they're not always the easiest, and engaging with the community and taking in all that feedback, and ensuring that the community feels heard. So that was those were really great, productive meetings, and looking forward to the future ones. I'm just wondering, based on some of the feedback that Bobby Sox shared today during public comment, I know there was a recent or sort of recent hire of the park ranger, and how that is playing into ranging of the other parks and not just Lagoon Valley. I've really only seen the park ranger out at Lagoon Valley, and how do we ensure the safety of all of the parks and not just one specific park with this new position. So just throwing that out there. And then also just wondering if I know before we were receiving presentations before the meeting, it would be really helpful to get those either really before or after. To be able to see via Zoom is not always the easiest, especially on the presentation PowerPoints where we can't manually zoom in. And just being able to, read through those and again, just be informed and be able to ask thoughtful questions at the actual meeting time would be really great and helpful. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vasquez. And perhaps in one of our future meetings, we can maybe have our park ranger come out and do a presentation at one of our meetings and just kind of get to know him or that person and get to understand what they're doing out there for us. So I appreciate that. And your other comments are noted, ma'am. Thank you.
That would be a great idea. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Vice Chair Rucker.
I've got nothing. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, sir. And likewise, I appreciate you all and the staff and my fellow commissioners. Thank you for everything you do. I do miss a meeting in the chambers, and I hope that someday soon we'll be able to do that again. I appreciate everything you do. Happy New Year's. Please stay safe. And with that said, we will adjourn to the next meeting on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Good night, Vacaville.